Happy Saturday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of The Get Out. I'm joined as always by Matt Carlson of Sha Tin fame. Matt, I already saw people reposting the hype videos from last year for Hong Kong, so I think people
Myself
are getting
included, yeah.
antsy.
A little
Yeah.
bit, yeah. I mean, I've been antsy since it ended, but that's all right. I think being bad at stuff like this really helps me look forward to something else. So it's okay.
Yeah, I feel like last week the only horse I hit on was that rando Mike Smith horse. Like, was it a
Yeah,
dirt
that was
horse
actually a
going
really
to
good call.
turf?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I
So
had leg one. I think you had leg two. Um, and somebody else had leg three, but neither of us did. So
yeah,
if you'd
um,
played real wide, maybe you got there, but we did not.
yeah. I don't know. I had one yesterday too. I started off with a nice, like, I think there's a Hector horse that paid like 4 to 1 or something. It paid like 10 or 11 bucks, and so I was like, okay, good start. And then yeah, I can't get these. I can't connect on these. I think I used two horses and like some like horse in the like 14 post boom me or something. I have
Yeah,
no
like
idea what's going on.
Maldonado, who I don't think it had a win before yesterday, even. Like, I don't know if he's picking it up or what, but yeah, he was running very cold, and that horse went off at like 4 to 1 or something like that. It didn't even look that good on paper,
Yeah,
but
I
oh
don't
well.
know. Maybe there's someone's leaking information and it's not to us.
I always
But
feel that way about these big tracks, right? Like, Saratoga, Del Mar, etc. I'm like, the backside knows, we don't, but that's okay.
yeah. Um, cool. Uh, yeah, I don't know. This week obviously we covered if you're listening to the Saturday morning before the races, obviously we have stuff up for Woodbine, which has got a very interesting $5 pick three. Um, I think one of the legs is extremely chalky, but the King's Plate I think looks very, very wide open.
Mhm.
Mark thought that there was a single in that race, and I thought he was crazy. But um, I think there's going to be a little bit of value in that. It just depends on what happens if She Feels Pretty. But we covered that obviously in our live stream, and we also covered the late pick five featuring the Alabama on that stream. So lots of stuff there. Obviously, we covered on Drank Champagne the late pick four yesterday at Saratoga, and it was a close one. I thought I was going to get there, but I forgot what leg I missed, but it was just, I don't know. I've had a lot of really close calls and just not been able to get across the wire there. But um, and then I also did talk a little bit about the passing of the 360 Vegas mark. So if you guys want to be bummed out a little bit, you can check that out. But you know, uh, I mentioned this before. I don't know if I ever mentioned this to you, Matt, but like their podcast was a very big catalyst for me wanting to start doing this stuff. So although I never met him, I listened to every single podcast that they put out for the last at this point probably about 6 years, maybe longer. I've been a listener. I've been part of their Patreon and stuff. So and they have a Discord that I will poke my head in every once in a while. So it's yeah, it's rough when that kind of stuff happens. But yeah, we'll get too bummery here, and we'll just move on to the pick three over here, and we're gonna start with race 7. And we have a state bred stakes here for fillies, and yeah, your morning line favorite in this spot, if I click over to the time form, is going to be the 7 Grand Slam Smile. Now, this is a horse on time form that looks to kind of tower over this field with that last figure. I I had a hard time. I reluctantly used this horse as my top pick, um,
Is your
only
soundboard
because I
working?
no, this one's working.
There it is.
If we want to use the defensive B there, but defensive A, I guess. But this is my top pick. That figure was really good, and like I don't like I don't like betting these horses that run, blue fractions and get caught. But I will say, when I looked at the runbacks from here, obviously Alpha Bella was in there, and she just won yesterday. She won the the stakes race that was going a mile and 3/8. Um, I think this is the race I missed. Yeah, this is. I think this is. No, I had this horse. But yeah, Alpha Bella came back and just won that race, and there were just a lot of runbacks from there, right? And Nadet came back to run second or fourth in that race. So I think it's yet to be seen what the figures are for that race, but um, there's probably a lot of there's some talent I think running behind this horse. So I'm gonna come back with this horse as my lone A top pick. I think that figure, I was a little worried that figure maybe was a little flattered, but I think that race is gonna come back okay. Um, my lone B in this race is actually the 10, Wink and a Grin, for Carla Gaines and Umberto Rispoli. And I like this horse. This seems like a horse that's kind of been improving every single start, right? So this is a horse that first out at Santa Anita kind of just ran in plays, passed a couple horses, then was able to break her maiden at Santa Anita earlier this year, going a mile and an eighth. Media into an allowance race, was able to win that race, and then um, started kind of getting into tougher and tougher races. Um, and last race was an open allowance race, and horse ran fine. Was sixth by 2 1/4 lengths in that race. Um, and I was gonna kind of come back in here and look. And like I said, a lot of these horses, the couple horses that have run back, um, seem to kind of um, back up that race, right? So the fifth place runner, C runner, came back to improve from a 102 to one, or go from a 102 to 101. So kind of paired that figure. You got a horse I don't even that finished 10th came back to win next out. So I thought that there's that figure just showed that horse was in with some, decent horses. It's an improving horse at this point, and I mean, gets a humongous jock upgrade going from Vinny Shemno to Umberto Rispoli on the
Looks
turf
like you
at
got
Del Mar.
your favorite angle going there. So
I always laugh because I remember I like every once in a while, like on a whim, I ask you something and you're like, I don't know the answer, but give me a little bit and I will figure it out. And we ran the stats on jockey switch from Vinny Shemino, and unfortunately, it was not as good of an angle as I thought. I think it ended up being like 12 or 13%, which is about average for any
yeah,
type of statistic. So basically, there's no correlation. But um, yeah, I think this is definitely a horse that's got a nice late kick. It's got the highest, I believe, time form late pace figure in here, and time form's got this kind of showing as a bit of a fast pace. 12 to 1 on the morning line. I think, yeah, I think this horse fits in the spot, and I think this horse could take a little bit of step forward. And I have this horse in my lone B, so I'm just using the 7 and the 10 in the spot. We're going to stay skinny because I need a lot of horses a little bit later in the sequence. So, where did you land, Matt?
yeah. I guess I'll go back to the video angle quick too of you saying, "Hey, running stats." Right. I mean, I'll shout out DRF text charts for a minute of being able to run stupid things like that, as I like to refer to it, formulator at home. So sometimes it's cool to run nonsense and just say, "Hey, what if?" And have I made any money off that? No, but it's fun. I probably went to the two logicals in here that aren't the 7, who I thought probably may have ended up take more money than the 7, and may even go off as kind of co-favorites. I don't know. I think they're going to be mixed. I think they're going to be close. I know your morning line favorite is that 7, but I just think when you see the jockeys and the moves, etc., like both the 3 and the 6 are probably going to take just as much money, if not a little bit more. And those are the 2 horses that I kind of defaulted to in here, I think. I'll start with the 3 Moments Pleasure. Is the defending winner of this race, right? I mean, did win the stakes last year. JJ does see fit to ride. Obviously, it's coming from Pratt, which, Pratt's obviously a better jockey than JJ because Pratt's a better jockey than a lot of people. But, as far as the colony that's here, you're not going to do much better than Juan, taking up here. The horse has done really well at Del Mar, too, right? Is kind of, 2 wins, 2 seconds. I think the 1 loss came in a grade 3 going 11 furlongs, so you can kind of toss that one out. And I think also Craig Lewis in here is pretty good off a layoff, right? This horse is coming off I think like 150 days, and kind of in that stretch, Craig Lewis is I think 3 for 10 in the past couple of years. So, no real concerns I think coming back off that. So a lot of things I think that just kind of lend themselves to saying this horse, should run its best race that it can here. I don't know if that is worth the price that you get at the end of the day. I do think watch the board a little bit, but if I don't like the 7, you kind of get a 3-way co-favorite situation. I'd prefer this one, I think, over a lot of the things that the 7's shown, to your point, right? Like that horse kind of didn't maintain a lead off Slow Factions. I know you said, hey, that 10 yesterday ran back out of that race and won, but that was also a race that I think Hector won because he was able to go like 25-7 in the first quarter, something like that. So he just kind of walked the whole way around. So I don't know how strong that race is going to come back, but I think Moment's Pleasure to me, I think is probably the one in here that, just stands out because I think probably likes the course better than anything else it's done previously. And a similar idea, I think, on the 6 Prancing from Paris, I think, again, the horse has a win over the course. He's 1 for 1. And I think the stat that kind of stood out to me, if you look at Ayuso's stats with Peter Yurton, obviously they're skewed, right? If you look at the ROI on that, it's something ridiculous, like $10. Like that's not sustainable. Clearly there's a couple bombs in there that have, lent itself to that price, but you get 35% over a sample of 20 races. And so that in and of itself is statistically, an outlier, right? It says that, hey, Ayuso is kind of the go-to jock for Peter Yurton. And so, again, if you're not going to get JJ up, at least you're getting the rider that, you kind of want in here. If I have any concerns on this horse, it's that you do have Lasix coming off. Horse does have a couple wins off Lasix, but you never know, right? I don't know if it's really being able to break through against kind of that challenging stakes company or if it really wants to run at Del Mar. So maybe I like it a little bit less than the 3, but I also think price-wise, you probably will get third choice. So, make them both A's and try and get through it, getting around the 7. I don't really see much else in here that I thought had too much of a chance otherwise. So.
Yeah. And then I remember, so obviously we were showing the DRF, shout out to DRF. And check out their AI tool at chat.drf.com. But, the 3, my kind of concern with the 3 is, although JJ is the guy here, him and Craig Lewis are 0 for 7 at Del Mar over the last year. They're hitting that 15%, which, for anybody would normally be very good. But for JJ is like half his normal winning percentage. And Craig Lewis has been off to a real slow start to this meet, right? He's at 6%. He's only got 1 win. So I think I'm just a little concerned about what we're going to kind of get first off the long layoff here. So I mean, I looked at that 3 a long time. I love me some JJ, but I thought that was the fade. The 6 I looked at for a long time as well. And like I said, kind of the reason I landed on this 7, wasn't just because of, the last out race. But if you go 4 back down the hill at Santa Anita, I mean, that's a humongous figure on DRF. It was 91. I think Time Form had it split out not as well. I think they gave it a 106. So I kind of saw that, and because it's tough when you look at a horse that went off at 24 to 1 nearly last time out and is now coming back to another race and is going to be, is your morning line favorite. I do agree with you. I think that the top 3 or 4 choices are going to be within a couple of points of each other. So I wouldn't be surprised the 7 kind of floats up maybe closer to 3-1, 7-2, and the 6 maybe takes a little bit of money, and the 3 maybe takes a little bit of money. Like you get maybe the 3 is like your lukewarm favorite at 3-1, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised, especially like you said, people are going to look at the connections. They're going to see William Anton Georgie is got 1 win on the meet.
Yep.
He's a fine rider. He used to do very very well at Golden Gate. I don't think like I'm like super super concerned. I mean, but it does kind of hashtag feels bad, man, to get a short price when this horse was 25-1 last time out.
Yeah, for sure. And right, I mean, if you see him drift up because of that, like if you see him above 4 to 5 to 1, maybe he comes in as a play for me. But yeah, I mean, to me, on paper, just to counter your arguments, right? I mean, he kind of looks like a Santa Anita horse to me, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason he shouldn't have won that last out if he was going to take to the course. And so, yeah, he's done really well on this SA turf, but this is a different style. So,
Yeah. And then one more note on Wink and a Grin. This is a horse that is not undefeated, but it's got 2 wins out of 3 starts in state bred company. I think coming back with some of his friends in state bred, albeit it's a stakes race, right? Um, I think that might help a little bit for that horse, and like I said, gets Umberto Rispoli aboard, who is easily one of the top 2, 3 turf jockeys at Santa Anita or at California. So, all right. Anything else in that race?
no, like I said, it could bomb out, but I think the 3 and the 6 to me are kind of the standouts that I'm going to go with.
Cool. Race 8. We got a $20,000 claimer here for 3-year-old and up. And we're going to be going 6 furlongs here on the main track. Your morning line favorite in this race is the 7 El Diablo Rojo at 3-1. Where did you land here?
Yeah, I actually landed on that 7. If you remember a few weeks back, I think I called this one out as a best bet if it drew in, and it did not. And so this is the spot that he shows up in otherwise. So, to, your average ROI, adamant ROI trackers of what I'm doing, just, rewind and consult your notes from 2 weeks ago and, just plug those in. So, this is a bit of a tougher spot that it lands in, right? I mean, I think he was probably dropping class to get a win last time here. Not as much, right? He's kind of at level, but you do have the ship and win angle. Those Oaklawn races and even that Lone Star race, I think all came back pretty strong. Kind of like I said a few weeks back. Those were tough efforts. I think this horse has lost a lot of ground in all of those races. Not that he won't again. It could just, it's one of those things where I keep kind of going back to saying, oh, this horse lost ground. He lost ground. Like he was going to run better. Sometimes those horses just don't like kickback and end up running way wide because they can't be inside, right? Like they don't want to be there. So they're always going to look like, oh, they lost ground, right? But, that said, I do think those fields were strong enough. I do think this horse is a little bit better than this field. I do think the ship and win angle, plays into this as well. So with all that, I think he has kind of the most talent. I think he's a deserving morning line favorite. I'm going to lean on that one pretty heavily as an A in here, and kind of my lone A as I go through. The other horse that I liked in here, I capped this without morning lines, and then I kind of went back and I saw the morning line, and I was like, that kind of sucks. Was the 2. I thought I had a bomb lined up on my man Bags, and then really kind of looked and I was like, 8-1 is not what I want on that. Maybe the 6, the 7, and the 8 all kind of take money in here, and I think maybe this one drifts up, and if he'd have to drift up probably to like 12 to 15-1, which is what I thought I'd get on this horse, to make it worth the price. But look, I mean, this horse has been obviously laid off for a long time. He's been vet scratched for a while, but he does have back races that fit in here. So if this horse actually makes the gate, and this horse kind of can, again, run off hell running 2 races in the past 2 years plus, maybe there's something there. If you get over 15-1, maybe closer to 20-1, which is I thought I would get, yeah, I'd be like, okay, he's worth a shot in this field where I don't think there's much else running. If you don't get that price, you'll, track it in the double, see what you're going to project into, leave him off, right? Like 8-1 is not what you want in a horse that's run 2 races in 3 years. But, off those long layoffs, kind of coming in and dropping into claiming ranks, granted from Losal, they are positive ROIs for this, for this trainer, right? Um, George Lopez does actually do decently well with those angles. So again, the right price, I think you can take a chance. You get the morning line on this horse, yeah, no thanks. But most of my money will be through El Diablo Rojo, kind of playing the ship and win angle, kind of playing those, um, hoping that those races kind of coming in from Oaklawn and Lone Star were pretty strong and hold up against otherwise kind of a weak Cali field to me.
Yeah. So El Diablo Rojo. So actually not eligible for the ship and win because you have to not run in California for a year, and he's got starts last year and November. So I think he's out
I thought it was just last
on the
start,
ship and win.
but hmm. Anyway,
No,
well,
it's
you know
it
better than
can't
me.
could not have run in California for a year as part of the thing. I looked it up while you were talking because I kind of thought I was looking at the same thing and I thought, wait, I don't think this horse is eligible.
Fair enough.
Um, Honestly, when I looked at El Diablo Rojo, and it's a little easier to see this on DRF. Um, I kind of went back and I looked at those Del Mar starts, and I don't know. They look a cut below what he was running elsewhere. Now, granted, he's an 8-year old at this point, and I'm only going back to last year, so I don't know. Uh, he's got one win and 7 starts here at Del Mar, um, and I think coming from Lone Star and Oak Lawn, I don't know. I wasn't really sure, but obviously JJ gets aboard, so. Um, you know that probably tells you that this horse is probably well meant in this spot. Um, I landed on the 6, Doo-Wop Don in this spot. Blaine Wright has not been running many horses here at Del Mar, but he is hitting it. He's 1 for 5 with 2 seconds, so he's sent out a bunch of live horses so far. And this is a horse that's coming in here, off of 2 wins. Granted, it was late last year, and this is a horse that would mainly been running at Golden Gate and the Fair Circuit. So this horse has 2 starts at Del Mar with a win, right? And a decent enough buyer figure, 75 as is high, but first time that this horse is coming in for a tag, and all the stats for Blaine Wright look good in this spot. Now, granted, he's a trainer who wins at like 18 to 20%. If he's running at like Emerald Downs and Golden Gate, but he's been sending live ones here at Del Mar. So I thought Doo-Wop Don made a bunch of sense. Time Form has this coded once again as kind of a fast pace. So I thought the 6 might be a horse that could benefit from that. I mean, granted, the 7 is also an off the pace type, so probably does help the 7 a little bit as well. Um, the only other horse I use is a 10, Known Idea, who expects to probably be part of that fast pace that we're going to see up front. And you kind of look at his form, and it looks a little funny because this is a horse that they've been running on the turf a lot, but his dirt races actually look pretty good. Excuse me. And he's got in his last 4 starts, for 4 dirt starts, he's got a win, 2 wins, a second, and the fifth in a California bred stakes race. Um, but I was looking once again on Formulator for this horse, and yeah, I mean, this horse looks like a significantly better horse on dirt than on turf. And Mark Glatt, when he puts a horse in for the tag for the first time, very good at that. Obviously, he just claimed this horse, so cut running it right back in for a tag. Turf to dirt, he's 20%. He's great off the layoffs. I mean, this is another horse or another trainer that all signs point to this being live. David Cohen's actually 20% to start the meet here at Del Mar, and him and Mark Glatt are 1 for 5 over the last year when they've teamed up. So I think that I like the claim off of John Sadler and putting this horse right back onto the dirt where I think he's run his best. So I expect this horse to move up a little bit. Also first time gelding. I know some people love that angle, but didn't really come into my handicapping decision in here. But I'm gonna use the 6 and the 10 in here.
Nice. Yeah, looking at it, I mean, those are a lot of pretty profitable angles coming in on that 10. So could be live.
Anything else in here?
No, I'll probably add that 10 to be honest with you, especially if the 2 doesn't make the price I would need on them. So,
All right. Everyone's favorite, nice turf maiden claiming race to end this. We're gonna be going a mile on the turf, race 9 here, and I had a really really hard time with this race. Um, I believe your morning line favorite is the 5 Caitlin Fever. However, this is the horse that ran 9 days before, so I'm not sure if this horse is actually going to run here. Um, but even if this horse does run, I kind of had a fade on this horse. Um, you know, I, this seems like they don't really know what to do with this horse, right? They started this horse off on the dirt at Los Al, probably just because that's what was running. Put this horse onto the turf and ran fine going a mile, and then just they put this horse in the stakes race. And I hate when you see a horse now in for a tag that was in a stakes race at some point, and I don't want to say that like the horse, like they ruined the horse, but like, sometimes, you get these horses, they get in over their heads a little bit, and then, it's tough to get them to win. Shout out Command Performance. But yeah, I just, I don't this doesn't pass a smell test for me. Granted, I see JJ gets aboard, right? It's Peter Miller, who, seems like every horse he puts on the turf tends to be live. So, but I got the fade on this horse, and instead I'm going pretty wide here. And I guess I'll go from top to bottom. The one rehearsal here for Phil D'Amato and Umberto Rispoli. Obviously, they brought this horse in over from Jessica Harrington's barn in 2024, and ran fine, I think, in that debut. And then the next 2 races, didn't really improve much. And now they're dropping this horse in for a tag. I will say that I think the last time out got off to a really really bad start. Kind of got steadied a little bit. It just was a really really bad trip. That could be maybe why we see the jock switch off of Kimura to Rispoli in the spot. But yeah, I think that I'm giving this horse one more shot here. Just think that maybe if this horse can get a nice clean start, might be able to pull it off here for the win. Um, the 4 for Carla Gaines, she's also one that I believe. Let me pull the formulator up because I remember looking at this. She doesn't do this very often where she drops out of maiden special weight to maiden claiming. She's 2 for 8 for doing it over the last, I think it's year, maybe 2 years for doing that. So right, that immediately is like, all right, she's only dropping these horses if she thinks that she's got a big shot to win. Um, Her and Kimura, I think, are 1 for 23 over the year. So he's not necessarily getting live mounts from her, but this horse took a pretty big step forward last time out here at Del Mar. So I think if this is a horse that could take another step forward here, and off the drop, is definitely going to be in here with a shot. And then the other A I used was the 6 Angelica Bay, Simon Callahan trained, and yeah, this trainer jock combination is 2 for 5 with a $30 ROI to start. Obviously, there's some bombs in there, but 21% over the last year in 14 starts. So Carmona gets a lot of gets some good mounts here from Simon. So and this is another guy who doesn't drop out of maiden special weight very often, but he's 1 for 3 when he's done it in the last year. So. And I mean, he's 20% in maiden claiming as well. So I thought that this horse, you know, uh, I think last time out he was kind of, it was kind of first time going the distance. So hopefully kind of running back, get a little bit more fitness in him or in her, and maybe we get a little bit better effort there. So those are my A's. The only horse that I kind of looked at for a while, and I eventually just made this horse a B, so I wasn't four wide in here, but who knows? Turf God Mike Smith on Thea here at 20 to 1. Last time out, this horse was 40 to 1, and kind of was I don't know, he didn't look great in that race, but uh, we've talked about this before. Mike Smith doesn't have to get out of bed if he doesn't want to every day, and the fact that he is coming back to ride this horse again. I mean, you look back to the race 3 back at Del Mar. That race is pretty close to probably winning this race here, right? Like you don't probably like a 74, 75 buyers probably good in this spot. And he ran a 68 then as a 3-year-old. I do always like betting these older horses going route distances in turf races, especially when there's 3-year-olds in the races. So the fact that this is a 4-year-old in here, and there's a couple of 3-year-olds in here, I my eyes tend to go to that just because turf routing, it tends to be a little bit more physically demanding on a horse, and so you have a horse that's going to be more filled in, and yeah, so I think Thea here is in a good spot. I think you're going to get a price here. And yeah, I mean, like I said, you kind of just got to cross the line through that last effort, and you look, and it looks like a horse that likes Del Mar, or has run her best race at Del Mar. Dynaformer on the top, which that they're going to want to go long. So have this horse as a B, but I'm 146 as A's, 9 as B's. Where did you land here, Matt?
Yeah, I was kind of too wide in here, and I'll start with the one that you already mentioned in the 6, Angelica Bay. I thought I wasn't sure the price you'd get. I think 6 to 1 is probably a little low for what I thought she'd go off at in here. But I think if you watch the replay of the race is a complete toss. Kind of gets trapped wide, gets bodied like 4 wide into the first turn, can never really slot in. Loses ground kind of the whole way around. And despite what the running line shows, was kind of fighting onto the line in there, right? I mean, you had a winner who was kind of extending away in that race, and so the tail of finishing 6.5 back looks like that horse is kind of fading, but really she's not. She's kind of making up ground on the field, or at least the ones kind of running out the back in there. So given kind of all the ground loss, you did see some kind of fight to the line in there and something more. And so couple that with the class drop, I do think puts this one right in the mix. And I think one, especially, when you see Carmona up aboard, might get lost on the board a little bit. So I thought, it would probably be the right price in here to take a decent shot at. I think the other concern here is just I don't see any speed in this field. And I struggled a lot with who gets the lead, right? And I know, Timeform kind of has it on a whatever projected pace, and who's going to get that. But I kind of thought the 7 would just go, right? Especially extending out. I mean, especially when you see, was it Zouster or how you pronounce it? I mean, I see an Aussie bred, and I'm like, yeah, they're going. Like, get my shot 10 angles ready and firing here. But look, I don't think this horse goes off 12 to 1 either. I thought this morning line was a little bit ridiculous because you get Barrios up, and you get a horse that probably projects to be a little bit on the pace, if not lone speed in here. And I don't know who else is going. And so, to me, this horse probably goes off like half that number. I think the morning line's way off. And if you get 12 to 1, great, throw money. But, I just don't know who else or what this pace scenario shakes out at. And I looked at it for a pretty long time trying to figure out who else goes. And so I do just see a scenario, where Hector gets the lead again, goes relatively slow, and just wires him all the way around. So I'll be too wide in here. I'll be 6 Angelica Bay, and then the 7 Storm Lady, hoping for kind of a quick wire job. But, other than that, yeah, I kind of agreed with you on the 5. I thought, look, you had a horse that was running really well considering who was riding, especially, right? You had Raylu up on, for a couple rods going, 2 turns, and that horse actually showed pretty well in both those races with Raylu up. So you'd be like, okay, you get Rispel, you get Barrios, now you get JJ. Should have something, but why are they dropping in this spot if you had anything, right? Something's not right with this horse. So I don't know. That was just a fade to me. I think, maybe that horse takes a lot of money too, and you just get prices on everyone else in the field. So one I wanted to get around as well. I kind of saw it the same as you.
Nice. Did you have any other plays in this card?
I went to race one. Actually, I probably had two plays. I had one race five, but then I thought, like the 6 and Better Days Are Coming is just probably a very chalky selection. So I was like, I'm not going to go with that. Race one, it's not a great race at all. But there are two Doug O'Neill horses running here. Initially, I was like, okay, go with the, horse coming in from Ellis Park. He's going to be, on the lead, etc. I don't know what price you get on that horse. And so to me, I went with the other Doug O'Neill horse. And whether that's stupid or not, TBD. But I did like the 20-1 morning line. And I was like, okay, this horse first out showed virtually nothing, but was breaking way wide, right? Broke from the 11 post in an 11 horse field. Broke straight out to the right. If you watch the head on, kind of breaks straight down and out towards the gate and just, has to pull back because of that. And just sort of, can't show anything from there, right? That was a very strong maiden special weight. I think that was the race that Brant ended up winning. So, I mean, you had a $3 million horse in that field. So look, I get it, right? That was much deeper waters than you'll get here. And just, because of all that, right? They're trying something completely different, right? They're extending out, they're going dirt to turf. They're putting another horse in this field. I think could show something, right? Has some pretty progressive gate works. Granted, I don't know that you like seeing a horse work 5 or 6 successive gate works. That probably means that this horse sucks breaking out of the gate, which you saw in the first race. So maybe that's bad. But again, like you see those continuously getting better and you get faster times. Maybe this horse just shows some speed, goes to the front. And at 20-1, I think I'm willing to take a chance, right? And so I think that's kind of the play that I'll make race one in here. Kind of against the ship and win angle. Maybe Doug O'Neill plays some games in here, and this two can go, and kind of wire around. But I don't think there's any other speed signed on in here. So hey, I'm willing to take a shot with a horse that has shown some pretty decent speed out of the gate, trying something different.
Yeah. Don't have too much to add. You kind of look at that horse and you do see you got distance pedigree top and bottom on there. You got classic empire in the top, which is not necessarily known as a turf influence, but does get 11% turf route winners. And then you get Tap It on the bottom, right? So does look like a horse that wants to run. So the pedigree at least tells you that I think more distance is better. And like, let's be honest, when you look at a race and you see a Union Rags on the turf at 4-1 in the morning line, like there's got to be some value in this race.
There's something somewhere, right? I'm like, all right, just go to a 20-1. There's value somewhere in this race. So
yeah, I mean, like I know the five ran a huge buyer fig last time out, and right is got Mendelssohn and Arch on the bottom, so it probably should take to the turf pretty well, but I think Mendelssohn's only 11% as well on the turf. So I tried to look at the 8 a little bit the first time starter for Jeff Mullins and Tyler Bays. They haven't gotten a win at Del Mar in the last year, but they're 17% when they're together. But this is another one, right? War of Will has not actually been all that great as a sire to start. He's only 9% with turf routes, so maybe not one that's going to fire fresh here. But I don't know, a bunch of lightly raced horses. I thought that was kind of a tough race. In your race 5, I thought the 4 could maybe present a little bit of value in this race. Came last time for Vinny Chemino and just ran up the track. But if you look at all these horses' back races, I mean, those are all really, really good races. I think Timeform has got this horse this horse with a 117 at a Santa Anita race. But this horse has run fine at Del Mar, going 5 furlongs. So I thought he was interesting in here, especially with just the jock switch from Vinny Cheminot to JJ Hernandez. So he's 5-1 on the morning line. He's going to probably be your second or third choice in this race. But I thought he was probably in that race the horse I would go to. And we can continue our beer bets. I'll take the 4 if you want the 6.
I should stay away from that race because realistically, my brain is like, what makes Sammy run owes me so much money that I'm like, I have to bet that horse again. But sure, I'll go with the 6. Why not?
You want the 7 instead?
No. No, I
Okay.
don't. I don't. If that horse comes in, I'll need beer. I'll need to buy my own. I can't wait for shipping.
All right. And that's going to do it for us here on the Get Out. Check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am Cherry Drank. Matt is at Slow and Steadied. Check out our live stream. Check out our other stuff. Like, subscribe, hit all the buttons. Check out DRF chatbot at chat.drf.com. Let's make some money, guys.
Good luck.